Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach. As always, I'm joined by this jerk, Cristian Garcia.
This fucking jerk.
This guy.
It's so weird not having headphones.
I know. You get to hear it analog style today. Welcome everybody to the show, your home for all your nerdy needs. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some Dungeons & Dragons and our experience doing a 2-year-long campaign. We mentioned it briefly last episode, but we figured we'd take some time to reflect a little bit on it today. But we also have some fun 420 specific stuff too, because as of recording this, it is the Stoners holiday.
Or as Cody would call it, Hitler's birthday.
Hitler's birthday. A lot of people don't know that.
I found out when you texted in the group text.
Yeah.
Like, what? I was like, why would you know that?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. You look up fun 420 facts, and it's like, guess who was born today? The frickin' Fuhrer. The guy who, is our definition of evil. But yeah, let's all get high.
Get high enough to fucking see Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you guys for liking and subscribing, checking out the show. Telling your friends is the most important thing.
Tell your moms.
Tell your friends, tell your moms. Tell your smoking buddies. That's what helps us out the most. If you want to take it one step further, even you can check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends to become a patron today. Help support the show. All that info is available at nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. All that info is down at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, help us reach higher, because where is it where I sent you? I forgot what list, but we're like the top 5% global ranking.
Of like, I don't know how many 5 podcasts.
Maybe. I don't remember this list that I sent you on.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, we're kind of a big deal, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, help us get to number 1 of this made up list.
It was a legit list of some other podcasts. Like when I showed them that we were in the top 5, they're like, oh shit. But I don't remember the name of this list.
I don't know.
Whatever. It helps my ego.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all literally hundreds of our listeners, sometimes.
Internationally?
Internationally.
I haven't checked where we're, but for all you folks not in the U.S., thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the homies listening out in the Ukraine, if there are any, because we know you got bigger shit going on.
Yeah.
We appreciate your support.
I was going to crack some jokes, but I was like, probably shouldn't.
Yeah, probably shouldn't. Yeah, they're going through a tough time. Let's do some nerdy confessions, the part of the show where we confess the things that make us nerds. Cristian, what's your nerdy confession?
My nerdy confession is I've been binge watching / listening to this YouTube channel called Audit the Audit.
Oh, okay.
So it's like this guy, I don't know if he's a lawyer. It's like 2 guys, but it's usually one or the other narrating the videos. But like they take police interactions, whether it be from like their chest cams or like stuff, the videos that people took, and they go through like who was right and who was wrong, and they grade the cops, and then they grade the people in the videos. So I didn't know this was a thing. Learn this in the video. There's people called
Sovereign Citizens?
No, fuck those people. But he has done a couple of videos on those. First Amendment auditors.
Oh.
So like they purposely
It sounds like a similar lane.
It is. But so they're equally annoying, but they're beneficial to us from watching these videos. They're the fucking rules lawyers of D&D. This is
excuse me.
Yeah, actually under section this blah 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 you can't do this. But like they're the ones who like keep our rights from being violated from the police. Like there's tons of stuff like stuff that I learned. I'm like, I didn't know that like if a cop pulled me, like, or if a cop stops me in the street and asks for my ID, I'm like, actually, why are you asking me for my ID? Like I have a freedom of movement and blah, blah, blah under section blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't. And like the way some of these people get the cops stopped and stunned and get the cops to question like their authority. And that's the problem, is that a lot of these cops, like they take their, you need to take me seriously too fucking seriously. Like
right.
They like cops don't de-escalate when they should, which I didn't know was part of their protocols. They need to de-escalate situations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing, I've known several police officers in my life. And one thing to realize is they're people too. And just like any of your friends, there are people who are better and worse at dealing with confrontation, right? And some of the ones that at least I've felt like if they had pulled me over, I would be the most comfortable with. They're always the ones who try to calm everything down and de-escalate.
Right.
Then there's the other ones who are hotheads who are like, if I was on the wrong side of you, I'd get shot,
It's just definitely from watching those videos like, all right, this guy definitely has an ego. He did not like that this civilian questioned his authority, even though and there's tons of times that cops are dead fucking wrong. But because they put their foot down, they're not stepping away from the situation. They could be fucking super, super wrong. The other guy has them dead to rights, and they're just like, nope, I said it, and that's it. And then they end up getting sued. And a lot of these First Amendment auditors, they purposely want to trip with the police so they can get a lawsuit in their hands.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad that there are people who do that, because if the police department gets sued and there's video evidence of it and everything, then it's like, okay, hopefully they'll learn their lesson, right? Because they don't want to get sued, right? That's really the way you can help affect the outcome of if you don't agree with the police tactics and whatnot. On the other hand, I'm definitely not going to ever be one of those people.
No,
because I mean,
you have the right complexion for it, though.
I do. I know. I could probably get away with it, but it's one of those things where it's like at the end of the day, they are an authority figure. And you're right. If they want to push it, I don't want to fucking get arrested. Even if it turns out later on that, I was right and I'm going to get a bunch of money, I still don't want to go through all that.
See, and what I think is bullshit is that I forgot the rule, but cops can actually be forgiven for being ignorant of policing and laws. That's fucking batshit crazy. Something immunity. I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
But okay, so let me get this straight. This cop can make a mistake on his job,
right?
Violate someone's rights. They can sue, but you can't sue the cop directly. You can sue the city and county,
right?
I think if they change this ruling where you can go after a cop personally, a cop's gonna it's gonna take a second. All right, wait, if I could financially be held responsible for this situation, I feel like they're gonna second guess drawing a gun on someone for no fucking reason, or violating someone's rights, or they're going to second guess. I think cops should have to get if I'm driving, I need fucking insurance. If I do something, insurance takes care of it. If I fucked up, my premiums go up. I think cops need the same fucking thing. You fuck up, you screw up with someone, they sue you, and then your insurance premiums go up. I guarantee you cops are going to second guess maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I need to check my ego. Maybe my ego's not worth this, in dollars.
Right. I'll play devil's advocate just for the sake of argument. I don't know exactly where I stand on that opinion, but I will say, if you look at it from looking at a retail space, right? Okay, so if you work at Target, okay, and someone has an argument where you ring them up the wrong price for something and they're like, no, this is false advertising. And, and then because you rang it up, you're now responsible for it. And they sue you instead of Target. Fuck that. Right. Cause it's at the end of the day, maybe Target did something wrong, but you're the face of that. Right now, if that cop gets something wrong, it's not necessarily a failure on his part if he did not receive the training. So at the end of the day, the department itself should be held responsible.
I could agree on that part.
I don't think it should come from the city in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
San Francisco shouldn't pick up the tab. It should be the SFPD, specifically this branch.
I can agree with that.
Right? I think that's a better way of doing it if I was to do it. But
now my counter argument with it is that Target analogy is that if you rang up something wrong, what is it, a couple dollars? Or couple, even let's say $100. You fuck up with the police, it could potentially be someone's life.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
That's the counter argument.
Right.
But yeah, man, check out that channel. Check it out, but don't stop watching. That's to check it out because they're killing it in millions of views. But they are entertaining for sure. And
what was it called again?
Audit the Audit.
Audit the Audit.
And don't get me wrong, I get excited. Maybe I'll challenge the police. I'm like,
no, you're a little too tan.
Yeah, maybe not. Like I'd have to be 110% sure of what I'm about to say
right.
before.
And also, one thing that's kind of crazy is so much of the law is up to interpretation anyway, right? I mean, that's literally why everyone worries when the Supreme Court has a new person coming up. They're like, well, their interpretation of the law is going to be different. And you're like, well, why does that matter? It fucking hella matters.
Which is bullshit. But like, I think for sure if they're like, hey, is it cool if we take a look at your car? That's what I'm definitely like, absolutely not.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Absolutely not. Even like, I don't smoke weed. I don't even know it's legal. I don't do drugs. I don't fucking like have illegal shit in my car. But like, if they're like, hey, can I look at your car? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Definitely want to keep my privacy in a lot, of stuff.
Yeah, same thing like if they're knocking on your door to your house, you know what I mean? You're like, no, that's okay.
Like, nah, I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you, but no.
Or like, where are you going? Well, I don't see why that matters in this situation. Yeah. Where are you coming from? I could be coming from a very embarrassing situation. I just fucked a clown, and I'm just sitting, like, I'm going home. Like, why do I need to
And I loved it. I loved it. Every minute of it.
Didn't think the big shoes would do it for me, but it did.
But it did, okay? I just don't want you to know that.
Yeah. I don't understand, like, why cops need to know that kind of personal information. Like, fuck that.
You know what's funny? So I watched Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. You watched the show?
No. Doesn't he have the weekly show? You're talking about the HBO one?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
It's called Last Week Tonight.
Oh, well, I love that show. I didn't know the name.
You apparently didn't love it that much. Well, he actually talked about this on the most recent episode, is that in a interrogation, cops are legally allowed to lie to you.
Isn't that bullshit?
It's 100% bullshit.
Isn't that fucking bullshit? They can lie. Like, dude, I
know
you were there.
We got your hairs all over the crime scene. I just need you to confess to make it easier. Then you start being like, oh shit, was I there? Did I black out? Like,
it wasn't in this channel, but I saw one where they were saying that, like, we got you on video, and the guy was like, he was being super polite. I would have been fucking mad, but he was super polite. He's like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you're lying because
you're either lying or mistaken.
Yeah, it's like, because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, and he was not getting mad. I personally like bullshit. I'm like, fuck. And particularly if I knew I wasn't sober, like, fuck you lying son of a bitch.
Lawyer.
Also, and I don't know if I would test it, but freedom of speech, you can actually say fuck the police.
Yeah.
You just can't specifically say, like, I hope you get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, but you could say, in general, cops fucking suck, or fuck the police. You could say crazy shit, like. And
I mean, you could light an American flag on fire.
Yeah.
Not that I would, but you can.
This one I would do. It was another video. It wasn't. Actually, it might have been one of theirs. But this guy put on his pickup truck, "I eat ass."
Nice.
Exactly. And the cop pulled him over. Was like, "Well, that's vulgar. A kid could see it." And he's like, "A kid can't see it."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, then a parent's gonna have to explain it to him." He's like, "That's not my problem."
That's not my problem. That's called parenting.
Yeah. And he ticketed the guy, and the dude got a lawyer, and they got him to take it away. But now he's actually trying to go and get like more money, or trying to get money because they were messing with his freedom of speech.
Yeah.
That one I would test.
That's funny. What a sticker to have. I bet it was a fucking pickup truck too. Wasn't
it was a pickup truck.
That's right. That's right.
Probably had the balls and
the balls. Yeah, I was gonna say.
That one I would definitely do just to see a cop say something about what?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay?
What's wrong with eating
Some
ass?
people have different tastes than others. And my taste
was ass.
is asshole. All right, my nerdy confession apropos of Hitler's birthday today. So when I was younger, like in my early to mid 20s, I smoked a lot of weed. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Anybody who knows me does.
A lot of people just got,
oh, him. But I definitely don't now because it makes me freak out, and I like to be productive also. I don't like to sit around.
Does it make you freak out? I've been around you when you've done it, and it's like I've never would have guessed.
Yeah, I'm having a panic attack on the inside.
I don't remember what I've definitely seen you take edibles while watching a movie.
Yeah. And then by the end of it, I'm like, what if I forget how to breathe? Oh, I almost did. I almost died. Yeah, that happens all the time to me. I mean, it's not terrible. I can have a little bit, but I definitely don't like. I was one of the first guys in my friend group to do dabs. If you remember what that is,
I know what it is. I've never done it, and I don't think I'm
it's
interested.
It's basically where you freebase hash oil, where you heat up this like this. It was a titanium nail. You heat it up with a blowtorch so it's glowing red, and then you dab this hash oil in it, and it vaporizes it, and you suck it in your lungs, and you feel like you're gonna die for a second.
I've definitely seen some kid on YouTube do it, and he was like, "I was just paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to do that to myself? And he did a dab. Definitely saw another guy.
There's guys who will do like a whole gram at once.
I saw a guy who melted like a big, like maybe like 3 feet, like a yard of it, and it just looked like a thing of snot.
First of all, it's such a waste of money because there's no way his lungs are taking all of that in at a time. You know what I mean? It's like half of it's escaping out as soon as he like coughs it out. But yeah, goddamn. I mean,
and it just looked like, again, like a yard of fucking snot. I was like, that looks gross. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely can't hang like that anymore. You know, it's like, okay, maybe if I'm going to a Grateful Dead concert or like I'm up at my cabin with the boys or something, you know, I'll do a little bit, you know, but it's like I just can't handle it anymore. So kind of one of the ways I celebrate 420 is I like to watch some stoner movies. And so I figure we do like a rapid fire, some of our favorite stonery movies to watch.
Half-Baked.
100. I mean, that's the best one. I think I had a hard time thinking of a better one than that. Like Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke is pretty good, and Still Smoking is.
You know, I need to rewatch those because I saw them as a kid, and I don't really. Is there one where a cop turns into a lizard or something?
There might be. Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, I was high most of the times I saw those, so it's hard to.
And there was one where they were like brothers or something. Like it looked like a fucking Renaissance fair or some shit. Like,
oh yeah, which one was that?
See, again, I was a kid.
They just all kind of meld together. And also, if you guys haven't ever done it, like you may not know this, but Cheech and Chong used to be a stand-up comedian duo.
Yeah.
And if you listen to some of their, like I used to have, I forget what the album was called. I used to have one of their comedy albums on tape. I'm just dating myself a little bit. But it was so funny. Like
he had to rewind it with a pencil. Just going in.
Yeah. Oh, I had an automatic rewinder. Calm down. But they had that one bit called "Dave's Not Here." You ever?
No, the only one I remember is where Cheech is singing about like took a Spanish class, got a B or some shit like.
Yeah. No, there's the one where it's like Cheech. He knocks on the door and Chong's like, "Hello," and he's like, "Hey man, it's me, Dave. Let me in, man, Dave." He's like, "Who?" "It's me, man. It's Dave. It's Dave. Let me in. The cops are after me, bro. I need to lay low. Come on, man. It's me, Dave." "Who?" "It's me, Dave, man. Let me in. It's me, Dave." "Dave? Yeah, man. It's me, Dave." "Dave's not here, dude." And it goes on like that for a while. It's so funny. So if you haven't got a chance, check those out. Check out. I'm probably on Spotify or something now.
It's actually kind of sucks. Like, it'd be cool to see two old guys. Like, if they continue that bit, it'd be awesome. Like, two old guys doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming they have too much money now. I don't know.
Well, Chong got arrested for a while.
Yeah, but it was some bullshit charges.
It was because he was selling bongs.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was entrapment. Like, they were trying. Like, I've actually listened to it. Like, they were trying to buy. Like, in his state, he could sell them, and him and his son would only sell them in the state. And then someone, like, they were trying to order out of state, and they were quick to say, we can't sell over there because, you know, it's illegal in that state.
Yeah.
So the cops actually implanted one of their guys to work there, and he shipped it out. And it's like, dude, like, they like, why are you busting?
That seems illegal.
Yeah, like.
Again, there's another one of those cops who should be held personally responsible.
Also, like, sending him to jail, Chong to jail, like, dude, they're going to treat him like fucking royalty. Like, he's not going to be suffering in there.
Yeah, exactly. He's the squirrel master.
Yeah, squirrel.
Isn't that right, Fuzzy Nuts? He's my bitch now.
That's such a good movie.
I know, so good. Yeah, Half-Baked is by far the best. Another one I like. Now, this is not necessarily stoner content, but I love watching it when I'm stoned. The movie 300.
300?
I think the slow-mo just gets me, you know? It's just like...
Is it even slower for you?
Yeah. Dude, one time, this is the first time I ever smoked out of one of those volcano vaporizers, the one that fills up the big giant bag.
Yeah, I've seen them.
I did the whole bag my first time, and you're not supposed to do that. And I sat down, and I watched the entire movie 300, and it felt like I was just like, oh my God, I just watched that whole thing. It felt like 5 minutes. It was just like,
You ever hear your music? You ever hear this guy named Mars, a DJ?
DJ Mars? No.
Is that? So I don't know. He was famous in the DJ world or whatever, but like, there's a reason why I'm bringing this up because you mentioned the big bag thing.
Volcano, yeah.
That's the first time I've seen it. Like, so it's at my buddy's house. Actually, his name was Cody Aguirre.
Nice.
And he just invited some girls over, and they were pretty attractive, and like they had met him. No, I'm sorry. One of them was the girlfriend of his, and he was like 50 something, if not 60. I don't know. And this girl was like probably like barely 20.
Nice.
And he came over.
It's gonna be me someday.
And he brought that, and he was like setting it up, and I was just watching like this. And I guess you heat it up with like a heat gun or some shit. Like,
no, like the actual volcano thing does the heating, but you put in this little like cartridge thing, the nozzle, and it
maybe there was some other
he was doing something different.
something fucking different. And he did it, and he smoked, and I just watched him do it, and I was like, holy shit, that's fucking insane. They're like, you want to? I was like, nah, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fucking
well,
good.
that's definitely like when you do the dabs, you know, if there's someone who's like, oh, maybe I smoked a J once in high school, and you bring that thing out, it looks like you're about to smoke crack.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
It was fucking insane. He's like, oh no, this is like not harsh. It takes all the the harsh particles out.
Yeah.
You're just smoking the pure whatever. And I'm like, nah, I'm good still.
Yeah, it's that stoner science, you know?
Yeah.
Like, stoners may not know how to, like, you know, balance a checkbook, but they can fucking tell you how THC interacts with the fat cells in your body and how this strain does this and this strain does this.
And so, and like the other, it was a weird situation because that Cody, he was like, I don't know if a master, but he did Taekwondo, and he consistently went to the Junior Olympics and competed. I think at one time he got like second place or something. But so this DJ found out that he did Taekwondo, and he started to, oh yeah, I'm a martial arts master too. And I was looking, I'm like, no, you're not. But I'm just listening to the story, and he's talking about his greatest master, like, and he was teaching him all these lessons and blah, 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 and how he taught him nonverbal. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I heard him say like, yeah, and then he was teaching me the tail strike, and I'm like, tail strike? And then he started mentioning other things about his master and other things that just didn't make sense, and like what his master ate, and I'm like, he's talking about an iguana. His master's an iguana. And he finally said, he's like, oh yeah, this is the most I've ever learned from my master was this iguana, blah, blah, blah. I was like, this guy's stoned out of his fucking mind. I just listened to this 40-minute story. He's talking about a goddamn iguana, thinking he's some weird version of a Ninja Turtle or some shit. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. He's just stoned out in the jungle, just looking at it, just like, oh my god, yes, I'm learning so much.
I had to recap the story to my buddy Cody, who was listening to it. I was like, dude, was his master fucking iguana? He's like, I think so, man.
I think so. He was talking about eating flies and stuff. I don't know. It was weird. Well, what's another stoner movie? You got a couple more?
Let's see. Specific. No, we named Cheech Chong.
Yeah,
we
Cheech Chong's good.
Said,
Dude, Where's My Car is a pretty good one.
that's true.
That's pretty funny.
I don't know if Scooby-Doo would count as a 420 cartoon or movie.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. They were fucking getting high.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Another good one is Freddy Got Fingered. You ever watched that one?
Is that a stoner movie?
I mean, it's not technically, but it's like if you're stoned and you're watching that movie, it's pretty fucking hilarious.
All right. If that's the case, I'll say Time Bandits.
Time Bandits? Yeah, I can see that. That's a pretty out there one.
Come on, time midgets like going around like stealing, going through portals, stealing gold.
Yeah.
They were former God employees. Like,
yeah, there's some out there stuff, man, for sure. Harold and Kumar.
Oh, that's right.
Not to mention that one. Go to White Castle.
Yeah. Only one in part 3. I don't count 2. 3 is the Christmas 3D movie.
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. Too bad 3D's not a thing anymore. Isn't that funny how there was like a couple like Jackass 3D was one of them.
Yep.
Harold and Kumar 3D. Gravity was basically a movie made for 3D.
That's true. It came
Gravity's not a good movie if you don't watch it in 3D.
I thought you were just saying it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like 3D is just like it was like a long time coming, and like they were doing it for a while, and then like all of a sudden, like bam, it just disappeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. I don't remember the year that they actually stopped doing it.
It was pre-COVID for sure.
Yeah, I want to say like 2018 might have been the last year they made 3D TVs. 2017 maybe.
Which is fine. Like some stuff was okay 3D, but I never really felt like it super added something to the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Although 4DX I do love.
Yeah, 4DX is fine. You know, that's a different experience altogether. But yeah, man, no more 3D movies.
I can't wait till they start making you wear like vests where you could feel like you're getting shot and stuff. Like,
yeah, or they just have you pop your penis into a thing,
nice.
and then they probably have that in Japan, I'd imagine, right? Like the people at Fleshlight are like diligently working on like how to get it so that like a porno will sync up with their Fleshlight thing. That's got to be in the works, right?
I hope it's bring your own fleshlight because that's just weird. If it's
no, they spray them out like at the bowling alley.
it's
Why does it burn?
it means it's working.
Means it's working. It's gonna burn your dick at first, but and then if you're not into that, they have something that comes out of the seat for you.
Yeah, there you go.
You know,
got to cater to all.
Cater to all. Yeah. Everyone likes a little something up their butthole.
All right, what other 420 movies?
I mean, those are my main ones. Like I can watch Half Baked over and over again. There's How High, but I was never really a fan of that one.
I never saw it.
With Redman and who's the other guy?
I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I feel like there's a movie with Snoop Dogg in it too.
I don't know.
Old school Snoop Dogg's in that one. But
the only Snoop Dogg movie I remember was like it was something similar to Tales in the Hood. It was like I remember he did like a horror movie.
Oh yes. I don't remember what it was, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the fact that Snoop Dogg hasn't done a 420 movie, that's crazy.
I mean, I feel like he's been around in general. You know what's funny though is we never got you know how there's Beer Fest by the Broken Lizard guys,
yes.
the Super Trooper guys, and they teased Weed Fest at the end, but then we never got that movie.
No,
that would have been fun.
Those guys are one of those like they make hilarious movies, but they never make a lot of money. Like they have a huge cult following.
Well, they're really hot and cold. You know what I mean? Like Super Troopers, amazing,
fucking hilarious.
Beer Fest, also amazing. Club Dread.
I never saw it. I did see the one where they were working in a restaurant, and that one was okay.
Yeah, salmon something.
Yeah, Slammin' Salmon.
Slammin' Salmon. Yeah, that one was okay. And then they had Super Troopers 2.
Did they?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a thing.
Which was like it was okay. You know, it was a lot of the same jokes and stuff, but it was like they're very, very hot and cold. Every once in a while, they strike gold, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen." And then everything else is just like, meh. But anyway.
You guys should also another YouTube channel you should check out. This Is Not Happening, and it's one of the guys. So it's basically comedians telling a real life story that's funny.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
It was Ari Shafir's show originally.
Yeah.
He was the one who started it.
One of the guys from Super Troopers did a story about Super Troopers and his run-in with a cop, and it was pretty fucking funny.
Nice. Which guy was it? Was it Farva?
The guy who got shot in the dick with the...
oh, yeah. With the metal cup?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
He was the crazy one.
I can't remember his name. Yeah. I was going to say the one with the mustache, but they all had mustaches.
Yeah.
I think he's the one who kept the mustache a little bit afterwards.
The Indian guy in it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And how everyone thought he was Mexican.
Yeah. When they're chugging the syrup, he's like, look at those big giant lips he's got.
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right. Well, hope you guys are having a fun and safe 420. We're going to take a quick little smoke break. Just kidding. It's just going to be a regular break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about our experience doing a 2-year-long Dungeons & Dragons campaign. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Yeah, smoke them if you got them. So we recently completed our campaign for Dungeons & Dragons that we started when COVID felt like it was going to go forever. And I mean, we weren't wrong. But we just completed our campaign, and it took almost 2 years to the day, actually. Like I think it was like 2 days after we finished it was our 2-year anniversary. So and this is, I think, all of our first time doing such a long campaign and seeing it through to the end.
Yes.
I think a common thing with Dungeons and Dragons is, you know, you start a campaign, you play it for a little while, then everyone loses interest or, scheduling conflicts happen and then you kind of give up on it.
Yeah.
That's a very common occurrence. Or on the flip side, you do a bunch of one shots or, 1 or 2 shots where it's like a short little spurt of an adventure and then it's over and then you create a new character and kind of go from there. But we stuck it through. We did Storm King's Thunder, which is an official Wizards of the Coast campaign. And, if I was to go back and do it again, I don't know if that's exactly the campaign I would have chosen.
Because it was too long?
No, just the way it was written. I wasn't a huge fan. But let me, since you were the player and I was DM, how was your experience on the campaign overall?
It was great. Cody actually asked us at the end. He was just like, tell me, be honest, and all this stuff. I was like, it was good. Honestly, it was great.
Like
it was
do
fun.
Little exit interviews.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't have anything like that I wish would have been different, man. It was great.
What did you think of the overall story and the call to action in that story?
It was definitely, I could see it from a player's point of view. It was great that it was so open and there's a lot of things you can do, and there was. Kind of like Elden, like we always bring it up. It's kind of like Elden Ring, where like you can go far away has anything to do with the story, which was fun for us as a player. I can imagine it'd be a nightmare for a fucking DM.
Yeah,
like.
Well, here's my complaint for any of you out there interested in running Storm King's Thunder. For me, it's like the call to action isn't super crazy in that thing. And what I mean by that is, it starts off and, basically there's giants attacks all over the Sword Coast.
Yeah, maybe we should, for the audience members who don't know call to action, not me, but for the audience members, call to action.
Yeah. Okay. So call to action is your motivation for going on an adventure, right?
Oh, the hook. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like the hook. Yeah. So like in Lord of the Rings, the call to action for Bilbo, or let's see, Frodo Baggins, is Gandalf comes in after Bilbo's 111th birthday or whatever and says, Frodo, this is the Ring of Power, we need to take it to Mount Doom or the world's gonna end. That's like the most straightforward call to action, right?
Okay.
So in this one, it's like, okay, you're traveling along and you go to this town and then it gets attacked by giants, and you okay, immediately I'm helping out the town because I don't want to be attacked by giants. So I'm helping out the town. But then it's like, it's up to you to be motivated to be like, we should figure out what's going on with all these giants.
Yeah.
There's nothing specifically like tasking you with doing that.
We could have easily been like, well, I'm not dealing with this
Dude,
shit.
fuck that. I hope someone figures it out. And then the adventure's over, and then, you figure out that there's this, then again, the idea of the ordning, which is like the caste system in the giant world, is also a weird idea to get across. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's not very well laid out in there, and I felt I constantly had to try to like explain, like, okay, so the ordning's like the societal structure of the giants, and if it's broken, the giants just run wild. If it's together, then it's like, okay, they kind of respect each other and everyone follows the storm giants. But that's a hard thing to convey in a natural way in a adventure. So
for sure. You're like, I'm not a giant. What do I give a fuck?
Yeah, I feel like, and then also, I feel like a lot of people don't, like, I'm not a big fan of like a railroaded adventure where it's like, I'm constantly pushing you in this one direction to go do the story this way and only this way, right?
You don't want to do the 2D, like you can only go this way, and you can't go back. Like,
right, exactly. Or like in video game terms, like a very linear video game, right? Which, if it's done well, like in a game like God of War is a fairly linear game, but it's fun because it's cinematic and cool things happen. But like a bad linear game, I mean, maybe not even, it's not necessarily bad, but not a very interesting one, is like Sonic the Hedgehog or Mario. Yeah. Where you're just like, you have to go this way.
Yeah, you can't
go backwards, and there's only really one way to go. You can go up or down, but you're going in that direction, But with Storm King's Thunder, like, I think chapter like 3 or 4 of it It's just like, here's all the locations in the Sword Coast, and like a little one paragraph about each one of them. So like the whole point is you guys are supposed to just investigate this entire area and figure out what's going on with the giants. And it's like, okay, but like, how do I as a player know where to go?
Yeah.
Like, so but they don't tell you as a DM, like, oh, you should pepper in this and this and this. You should go around and ask it and then feed them clues. And here's like a little 1 to 2 sentence blurb on each town, including like Waterdeep, which is a huge city. It's like, here's Waterdeep. It's a big city.
Yeah, isn't there like a campaign for Waterdeep in itself?
Yeah, well, there's a whole book based on Waterdeep that has like a whole setting, all the shops and temples and all that crap in it. But this is like, no, here's a little paragraph about it. And so you're left having to do so much work without any guidance, you know what I mean? So, and then like there's the thing where you have to choose which giant lord to go after. It's like players they only need to defeat one giant lord to progress the story, but they could do all 7. It's like, okay, fuck. Like, and you got to try to lead. So the book is, if you like maybe a game like Elden Ring, where it's like there's no direction at all, you just have to go out and explore and see what happens. It might be your style of game, but as a DM, it's like, how are they supposed to progress if I don't know what to tell them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I could definitely see it from the DM's perspective.
Yeah.
It could be a nightmare, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think, there are definitely better written modules out there, at least the ones that I've read through. And even ones that I've played through that, whether it's Pathfinder or Dungeons.
And I can imagine having 3 goofballs like me, Tim, and fucking Blake.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, oh, well, we want to continue the adventure, but we also want to do some silly shit, and like,
right.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Like, and maybe it's not just us, but I feel like in every party, like maybe even every campaign, when you get an interesting NPC,
yeah,
like you want to get to know a little bit more. Or you want to do some goofy shit, like an ongoing one for us, at least for a while, is the back room. Like,
yeah.
We're trying to get to the back room.
So one of our players, Tim, we would be like, all right, today's a shopping day. You can resupply, what you need. And they're like, okay, is there anything in the back room? And I'm like, nope, there's nothing back there.
To be fair, he was a tiefling. And
yeah, but he was like a tiefling warlock.
Warlock.
Yeah. And he was but he definitely played it like a bard, kind of, And he was always trying to get in the back room. He's like, "What's back there? I know you got the good stuff back there." And I'm like, what I had set out for these shopping days to be is just be like, what do you guys need or want, and I'll just tell you how much it is. And it was like, no, I want to go to that store. I'm like, okay, yeah, that store's it's a potion store,
It's like, cool. What do they got?
What do they got? What do you want? I don't know. What do they got? It's one of those kind of things. It's like, God damn it. Which I think brings me up to one of my first suggestions. If you guys are going to play a longer campaign like this, or any campaign really, but I feel like one of the things I've struggled with as a DM in my fairly short career of doing it. Well, I guess it hasn't been that short nowadays. It's been like 5 years or something. But one thing I've always struggled with is shopping, right? So part of the fun of a D&D campaign is you're looting gold and diamonds and crap like that out of these dungeons that you're in. And so you want to spend that somewhere, right? And so I've always struggled with coming up with an interesting way of doing shopping. And I've heard suggestions. We talked to Satine about this, and I think we talked to some other DM. I can't remember.
Anthony, maybe?
Maybe it was Anthony. It might, it might have been him. And I always discuss hey, how do you guys do shopping? Like, what do you do? And they've all given a good take on it. And I think Anthony was the one who gave me the idea of okay, you should just ask them what they're looking for and try it out. With you guys, that didn't work very well. But I think at the end of the day, what you should do is spend some time and create a bunch of different shops on an Excel spreadsheet. have an inventory with a cost on it.
Yeah.
Maybe like a cheap, regular, and expensive cost, depending on like if they're doing charisma rolls or whatever, right? And then just have an inventory, have quantities of how much they have of everything, and prices, and a set inventory, and have one be like, okay, this is like a big city shop, this is a little town shop, this is a merchant, traveling merchant, and then you can have that as a reference and just have it saved on your computer or whatever, and that way when they want to go shopping, you have a couple different lists of different shop archetypes that you can kind of give them.
I think what I would do is I would do like, was it Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game on the
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I would just do that, like where a dude just shows up with a backpack. It's the same merchant everywhere, and he's just so happens to be there, and maybe a slightly different variation in the accent, or like, oh, that's my brother, oh, that's my twin, oh, that's my cousin. That's just the way I would do it,
right?
Just to keep it simple.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't have a problem with coming up with weird NPCs. I mean, half the ones you guys liked were made up weird ones that I just created on the fly. I don't have a problem with that, but it's specifically like
the items.
So like at one point, we had like a merchant at the giant castle underwater, and you're like, hey, we have some health potions. You're like, okay, well, I'll take all you got. How many you got? And I'm like, fuck. So like, I guess I have 10 maybe. I'm like, that seems like a reasonable amount. But then I started, after you had bought them, I started thinking about it. I'm like, fuck, if they get in a battle and they're just like chugging 10 of these potions, that's going to make the battle not as dire, not as, crazy and important, right? So
I think when it comes to the dragon that was averaging like 50 fucking 50 points of attack, like I think it would have been fine.
Yeah. And you guys didn't remember to use them because you put them all in the bag of holding.
I don't think we used any. They
were using the ones that you were given, not the. I don't think you used the ones you bought that much. But yeah, I think having that, and it's not going to be the most interesting thing, but you can spend an afternoon doing it. Create that Excel spreadsheet of of shops, and have like I said, shop archetypes. Oh, this is one at a store that specializes in magical stuff, so maybe they'll have some low-level magical items, right?
Yeah.
But have them be expensive. You should always price things accordingly, right? They shouldn't just be able to go in and like buy a potion of supreme healing for 100 gold. Like that should be like thousands and thousands and thousands.
And as a rogue, I never tried to steal anything just because I had another DM I didn't even try to steal, and it wasn't even like me. It was the party. I forgot. It was the first, like, the starter kit campaign.
Sure.
And there was like some street thugs that like come and harass you, and then we just straight up murdered them.
Yeah.
Like we thought it was an encounter of fighting, and we just killed them. And like the DM didn't like it, and like had like the town police, which were essentially like full plated like guards, come and like took us to jail and like did all these things. And I was just like, and we were there for a little bit, and we barely got out. I was like, oh shit. And he told us after the game, he's like, yeah, I did that because you guys did this. And we're like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, they attacked us. He's like, you murdered people in front of all these innocent people. Like, don't you think you would have scared innocent people? I was like, I guess we just thought that they were terrorizing the town, and we did them a favor. We did them a favor.
We were the good guys. Yeah.
I think one of us ripped one of those guys' spines out from the back. Like,
oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's just like,
I'll stop them from terrorizing you.
Yeah,
Predator style.
Just did some Mortal Kombat or Predator style shit. And so ever since then, I'm like, oh man, like I guess maybe I'll, like, though I'm a rogue, like I think I'll just, what are the parameters? Okay, I'll play within the parameters. Like,
yeah. I think that's another good tip for any campaign, is just like feeling out the group that you're playing with, right? And that's useful both as a player and a DM, where you've got to feel out what your other players along with you are like. Think of your character and know if you're pushing it too far. Like if you're that guy who constantly puts the party in jeopardy because you're like doing wild out there shit because when you play Grand Theft Auto, you're the guy who just aims for all the hookers and, throws them off cliffs and stuff like that. But if that's not the game that they want to play, you should be cognizant of that so everyone has a good time. Because in the case of this game, it went on for a long time, and it's like you're stuck with that person.
Yeah.
You don't want to do things that are going to jeopardize not only your personal relationship with your other players, but the campaign they're trying to enjoy too. So I think that's figuring out where the parameters are. And as a DM, I think that's the same thing. Like if you figure out that everyone hates puzzles, like maybe don't throw them into the, Tomb of Annihilation, like ultra puzzle.
Oh, is that a puzzle heavy one?
I think I'm pretty sure the Tomb of Annihilation is the thing that Gary Gygax created to just specifically punish high level players, where it's just like, there's certain things where it's like, you just open a door, spike trap comes out and decapitates you.
So that's where you're going to need like a whole rogue party.
You need to have multiple characters written out ahead of time if you're trying to do the thing. It's pretty funny.
It's like, I'm going to check it for traps. It's like, it's just a door. Yeah, I'm going to check it for traps.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to take a sip of my drink, but I'm going to check it for traps first.
Yeah, it's like the first person walks through the door, nothing happens to you. The second person gets teleported to an alternate reality, and all of their clothes and all of their weapons are disappeared, and they're just stuck there naked.
Nice.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, can you teleport out of there? No. All right, well, you're stuck forever.
Cool. On to my 8th character that I created.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. I think it was. I could be wrong. It could be Tomb of Horrors.
I know Tomb of Annihilation. I thought it was a newer one.
Well, they rewrote it. It was from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I think. Tomb of Horrors. Yeah. Let's see this. We'll read a little. Get out of here, cookies. No one likes you. Yeah, it was devised by the game's creator Gary Gygax. It's designed to be the most impossible to beat. It's sparked debates amongst players and dungeon masters for over 40 years. It's a meat grinder.
Ooh, so now we know what we're playing next.
Yeah. Here's a little taste of it. The act of getting into the tomb already poses a considerable challenge. There are 3 entrances in total. 2 of them are fake, leading to an almost certain death. It's full of such choices. One path turns out to be right, the others mean death. Other than making it seem like the right answer comes down to luck, these sudden deaths are also the focus of much of the criticism due to the nature of D&D itself. It's designed for players levels 10 to 14, depending on how often you play and how your DM handles the distribution of experience points. Blah, 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 blah. But there's actually a great video out there by this guy on YouTube called XP, like experience points, to level 3. So XP to level 3. His name is Jacob. Check it out. He did a whole thing about where he basically talks through the Tomb of Horrors, start to finish. Like, here's what would happen. You go in here and then this happens. You go in here and then this happens. I
don't want to listen to that video. I want to play it.
Well, I'm not going to run it because it sounds like a fucking nightmare. But check it out if you want to get a little taste of it. But
it sounds like it'd be fun for one of those like vindictive like DMs or someone who just wants to see people get frustrated.
Yeah, exactly. It might be a fun party weekend, like one shot to do kind of thing, where it's just like you have a bunch of pre-made characters or something, and it's kind of like. It's like almost like a roguelike game, but in D&D, where it's just like you're meant to die over and over and over again, or like Elden Ring for that matter. But yeah, Tomb of Horrors is called. Another thing I had as far as doing a long campaign like this is overland travel, which we used a little bit of a homebrew.
I liked it.
Thing.
I honestly thought it was part of the game, but no, it was cool. I liked it. I've never had one like that.
Yeah, so I actually found this thing called it's an Overland Journeys. I had the guy who created it. His name is Little Rob, and I found this just off of Reddit. And essentially overland travel in a D&D game is kind of, it can be slow and monotonous. And it's like, how do you do it? And, when do things show up? But this guy came up with this cool variant rules edition for Dungeons and Dragons that I thought was really helpful. And you could totally Google this, just type in overland travel D&D 5e, and it's one of the first ones that pops up. But what's kind of cool about this is he kind of explains like some big issues. One issue being that overland travel can't be exciting because literally after every encounter, they can be like, well, we need 8 hours to rest and heal up entirely before we go on. So it's hard to have like a deadly encounter while you're traveling throughout the countryside, right? So this one takes that out of effect, and basically you can't be rested unless you are comfortable. So like in a inn or cottage or staying at a farm or something like that, right? Then you kind of like determine the terrain type, like is it roads, bad roads, grasslands, forest, swamp, mountains, desert. And then you figure out the travel speeds. So you have to kind of determine the route ahead of time. But then there's different roles for each player. And that's what I think really works for this homebrew. There's a navigator who's in charge of reading the map, keeping the party on course. They make an intelligence survival check against the terrain's DC. So you create a difficulty check based off of what kind of terrain it is. So say it's 15, right? If they pass by 5 or more, you find a shortcut. You get there faster. If you pass just normal, then it takes the expected amount of time. If you fail, then you're off course. You get lost. And so it increases by 50%. And if you fail by 5 or more, you're lost and it takes twice as long. Then there's the lookout, which does a perception check against the DC of the trip. If you pass, the party will see, 2 encounters per 10 days of travel. If they pass by 5 or more, they only see 1 encounter, and so on and so forth. The scout does a nature check against the DC, and that determines the difficulty of the journey. So if you pass it, then the encounters are going to be medium, whatever the book kind of recommends. If you pass by 5 or more, it's no threat. The encounter is going to be super easy. Like maybe it's like a fucking wild boar that comes in and he's like, hey, and you're just like, oh, we just got to kill this one boar. If you fail by 5 or more, though, the encounters are going to be deadly. So like a fucking dragon wormling shows up or something. Then there's the hunter, which just makes an attack roll against the terrain's DC. And that determines how plentiful food is for the trip. So how many rations you need to use, that sort of thing. And then there's some other things. You can do pre-made encounters. They give you little notes and stuff like that, rangers in favored terrain and that sort of thing. But I think what's really awesome is that it kind of it does what a lot of video games do, where normally you would have like let's use God of War as an example, right? So normally it's like you and Kratos, and you're as Kratos, and you're walking through the world figuring things out, right? But then like every once in a while there's a level where he's like, oh, he's riding a chariot, or he's flying on a Pegasus or whatever, right? And so it's like it's a different mode of gameplay. Yeah. So everyone has to have their own roles. It's a similar thing, I think, in modules that use like nautical stuff where you're on a ship. Yeah. There's like there needs to be specific roles as you're on the boat kind of thing. So
I liked it. It reminded me a lot of like Oregon Trail. So
yeah.
It was
Yep.
I enjoyed it. It made one of the parts that can be boring actually exciting. So
right, exactly. And it kind of, a little prep work does need to go in for the DM, so you need to be like, okay, like they're going from here to here. You look at the map, what kind of terrain is that? So I'm figuring out a difficulty check level. And then when they embark on their journey, they're rolling. And then you can just kind of narrate along the journey. So like, oh, on the second day, an owlbear busts in, it breaks up camp and everyone draw their weapons, and then you can kind of go into the little battles. And because you can't rest every single time, like at the end of these things, like if you're going on a 20-day journey from one side of the map to another, it becomes more strenuous of a thing. You know, you're like halfway through and you're almost dead and you have no more potions or whatever and you can't heal. It's like, oh, we need to find an inn. So now it opens up a possibility of, you know, expanding that story and making it more realistic rather than like, oh, you know, I know that dragon almost tore me in half, but I'm just going to get a good night's rest and I'll be back in fighting shape tomorrow. You know, it makes it a little bit more, it brings more more interest and like it makes the overland travel more interesting and like potentially deadly. So it's not just a walk in the park.
No, it was dope. I really enjoyed that part.
Another thing I think really helps, at least helped me during this campaign as a DM, is remembering story beats that happen in the campaign to try to tie in later. So
we're talking about the pig's name,
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of them. And then Harshnag too, right?
Oh, he was not supposed to show up.
In the back of the book, they're like, maybe Harshnag comes in, but in the front book, it's like, oh, he's dead. You know, maybe you'll run into him in another adventure because he is in another book somewhere.
Got it.
But it's like they never explain how. Like, oh, he just shows up out of the blue. I'm like, I have a way of making this happen, right? And so like having fun little story beats like that come back into play, I think are really fun. And I think where a lot of people, at least in my opinion, and all this stuff is our opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think one of the worst things you can do creating a D&D character, and we talked about this with the guys from Dice Legends, is coming up with this elaborate backstory of your character. It's like, oh, you know, he came from a wealthy family, but they were slaughtered by orcs, and you know now he's out for vengeance. You know, he needs to find the orc leader and stuff. He's like, okay, well, this campaign has nothing to do with that, and so like none of that's going to come into play. But as you start to play with these characters, like personalities start coming out. Like if you look at Tim's character Zeddy on paper, like he's like, oh, he's a warlock tiefling. He's like, oh, he's probably like really broody and stuff. He's like, no, he's the jokester who pretends to be a lumber baron when he's trying to sneak onto a boat and stuff, right? He's the guy who thinks he's a giant even though he's obviously not a giant. You know what I mean? So by picking out those little things that are important to them, or like Crystal's character who I thought was a wizard because she loved books so much and loved researching and stuff, but no, she was a sorcerer. I was just like, what?
Oh, she wasn't a wizard?
No, she wasn't a wizard.
I thought she was a wizard.
I did too for much of the game. For like over a year. I was like, oh, you're not a wizard? I kept giving her like spell books and stuff, and she was like, nope. I'm like, oh.
It's like, cool. I'll read this later.
Yeah, exactly. And so by realizing kind of how these players like to play the game, I think that, that kind of helped me come up with cool story hooks later on. Right. Like you guys obviously love talking to weird made up NPCs. So when you start going to an island that you're not supposed to go to, I make up a weird NPC to kind of guide you along the way.
And that was very much, we were there for like, I think that's whole game
That was a
session.
whole game session. You were talking to Jasper Seaman.
It was definitely worth it.
Yeah. So, it's stuff like that helps, kind of like make the story interesting. So I'm not like it's one thing if I just had like one of your patron gods or something talk to you or whatever, but it's something more interesting if something that was important to you early on in the game comes back to be important later on. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a little bit more organic that way. Any other tips for players, Christian? Like if you were going to do this all over again, would you change how you would play the game?
How I would play? I probably would have done more roguish stuff. I don't know. I was trying to like be fun and do roguish stuff, but not annoy players. Right. So I don't know. I guess I would have tried to learn what their characters were like. like later on, me and Zeddy got into a rhythm. It's like, had we gotten early on into that rhythm, I would have been like, hey, let's do some like scams or some goofy stuff, but in a way that would make it fun for everyone else as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's always kind of easy to look back like, maybe I should have done this and I should have done this. But I think you're right. It's better to play a little bit more cautiously and not piss off your fellow party goers than go completely off the walls and ruin everyone's fun for a night. You know what I mean?
I think what I plan, if we play again, and I'd be willing to try to DM. I don't know how good I'd be at it, but if I was going to be a player, I'm just going to go the complete opposite of what I played last time. So instead of a rogue, like just some dude who's like, I'm just trying to do good. Like that's it.
Like a paladin or something.
Something along the lines. I was thinking maybe like a fighter, but just like had like a noble cause or some shit. Just because I just to like push. Because normally or maybe even like a magic user because I've never really done it. But just something that I've never done before just to challenge myself.
Yeah. I think that's another good thing is like, don't get stuck into playing one type of character. It's cool to have your favorite, do a rogue or whatever, or I've really started to enjoy playing a druid for that short time we did. Like that's the next character I want to play as my own player character. But normally I've always been like fighter, paladin, barbarian, like a real fighty dude.
Yeah.
Like that's always been one of my go-tos, but like playing a druid and figuring out how they work is actually a lot of fun, and I never would have known that if I hadn't had to make a one-off weird character to play with the guys at Dice Legends. So.
Yeah, see, if I really wanted to push myself, it would probably be like a bard, just because I would normally, like in terms of video games, I do the same. Like monk, if there's like a martial arts type person or like someone that could be sneaky, that's the type of stuff I like doing. But yeah, a bard where you're just like, oh, my words are my weapons, like
right,
that.
Exactly.
That would be one where I'd have to like push myself.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Try to push your own comfort zone, push yourself out of it, kind of thing. I think that's important. I'd say probably the last thing I would say is I think it's important as both players and DM to take notes of what is happening. And I mean just general stuff. But that's one thing, like if I can make a suggestion to you guys as players, is like there were so many times where I was trying to lay foreshadowing down and none of the players took notes. Like it was up to me to kind of recap the game every week, which is fine. Like I don't mind the DM doing that because it's kind of fun narratively, but like you guys should really have notes like, okay, so here's maybe brief spoilers for a little bit of Storm King's Thunder, but I'll try to keep names out of it. But there's at one point there's a dragon that you fight, a blue dragon, and that blue dragon when you meet her like says her name, okay, and then later on you're meeting some other people, and one of those persons has the same name as the blue dragon. And what's happening is that blue dragon's in disguise as not a dragon, and you guys are supposed to kind of figure that out and be like, oh shit, that's who we fought before. None of you guys remembered that name, and so I had to quickly like scramble and be like, fuck, how am I going to reintroduce her without like just giving it away? Like it's one of those things that you're supposed to figure out. It's like if you go to the bathroom at a movie and you're like, what did I miss? And they're like, nothing. And then it's like, wait, why is that guy eating that guy now? He's like, oh, he's a cannibal. You left that out. It's like, so if you're a player, take basic notes of like people of interest. You know what I mean? Or like certain things that happen. And I mean, and another thing, when it comes to loot and inventory, you guys, not all of you, but several of you forgot what you had gotten previously. Like, wait, who has this? Who has this? It's like, I thought we got this. No, I didn't get this. And it's like, how much gold was that? Like, I don't know, bro. I'm like rolling random numbers. I'm not like keeping record of what everyone has in their pockets. So as a player, I think, especially for a longer thing like this, like, good thing I didn't like say like, oh, this one thing you got in our second week of playing is an essential key item for later on because you guys would have forgotten it. You know what I mean? So I think that's another thing.
It's like we left it in the town where we were drinking beers. Like definitely left it in there.
Yeah. So I like also like Crystal's cat.
Oh, the cat disappeared, huh?
Yeah. I didn't say anything because I was like...
For a long time, she was fighting to get this cat, and then it just... I don't even remember when's the last time you mentioned the cat.
Exactly. I didn't bring it up because, like, she wasn't role-playing the cat at all. Like, it was just an extra token for me to have to copy and paste and bring along to every page. So when she stopped kind of playing with it, I just left it.
I'm going to definitely put it in the text, like, what happened to that cat?
Yeah. So... things like that, I think, are important, you know, to keep in mind as you're playing a long campaign. Is like we're in it for the long haul, so like you got to keep track of your inventory and like what you got, what you need. And I'm a little loosey goosey when it comes to like things like ammo, right? Because there's no way you guys would have kept track of how many like arrows you had or whatever, let alone like spell components. I think some people. Not going to name any names, but I think some people didn't know how spell slots worked either. It just kept using extra ones all the time. So I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. So little inventory management, I think, goes a long way when it comes to D&D. But any last minute things?
Nah, man, it was awesome. Yeah. Hopefully we get to play again, but I can understand that you want to rest.
Yeah, I do.
And that's if you DM. Like if maybe, I think either Tim or Blake would be a good DM too.
Yeah, I think Blake does DM another game. Any like if you were to, would you ever want to do another like really long-term campaign like this, or would you like something shorter?
I like the long term.
Yeah,
man. I like to getting like gathering with people, the same folks, and like playing a game.
Yep.
Honestly, if this one would have kept going, if there was like another big baddie, like I would have been fine with it. You know?
Yeah. It was a fun game. You know, I think learned a lot of stuff from doing such a long campaign, and. You know, the next one we do, whether I DM it or not, I think is I'm definitely going to bring some new stuff to the table because, you know, it was a big learning experience. So hopefully some of these tips helped you guys out. Hopefully you learned some stuff as far as like things to try out in your home game, or if you're thinking about taking a leap and becoming a dungeon master yourself. Hopefully some of these will help you out when doing those longer campaigns. And like I said, maybe, you know, Storm King Thunder is not bad, but it wouldn't be my first choice of doing, you know, a long campaign again. Though now that I know it all, I guess it's not that big of a deal.
Well, if you play it as a player, you can't metagame, man. You just gotta be like, oh, I don't know where to go.
I don't know where to go. Guys, that person I think is the same as the dragon we fought. But let us know if you got any tips for playing D&D. You know, what are some of your favorites that have gotten you through those long campaigns? We didn't even talk about how to get people, you know, to play a game every week after week kind of thing too. Like scheduling is its own kind of conflict when it comes to doing D&D. So let us know if you've got any tips and tricks down in the comments, either on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, any of the spots. You can even send us an email through nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. We do read all those and we do reply to all of them. So let us know what you think. And while you're down there, leave us a like, a subscribe, a follow, a favorite, whatever the website or podcast platform you listen to or watch on tells you to do. Just do it all. Just 5 stars, thumbs up, all that good stuff. We do appreciate that stuff. And if you want to help support the show even further, check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. You can help support us for $1 or $2 every month. We do appreciate it. Helps us buy new stuff. Thank you to all of our patrons who already support the show. You guys are incredible. We thank you so much. That's why we have your names scrolling every single week. So we appreciate you. In fact, I think I didn't put it on last week, so apologies for that. But we do appreciate you guys nonetheless. Christian, thank you for being a semi-tolerable D&D player.
As long as it's semi.
Semi is what we aim for. To all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you and good night.